Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something eternal and unshakable. A woman of strength is not born in comfort. She is forged in the fires of adversity. She does not waver when the storm rolls in. She stands, she prays, and she presses on. This world has often underestimated the power of a determined woman. A woman rooted in faith, sharpened by truth, and guided by conviction. But no matter how many times life has tried to push her down, she rises. Not by her own power alone, but by a strength that comes from a higher source. She is not loud, but her silence carries power. She is not proud, but her humility builds nations. She is not perfect, but her perseverance shapes generations. I am here to speak about 7 qualities that define such a woman who can't be broken. Not by betrayal, not by pain, not by rejection, and not even by the weight of her past. A strong woman who cannot be broken is first and foremost a woman of faith, not a passive belief that bends with the winds of circumstance, but an unshakable, deep-rooted faith that holds firm even when the ground trembles beneath her feet. She walks by faith, not by sight. She doesn't depend on what she sees with her eyes or hears with her ears. She leans into what she knows in her soul. When everything around her screams, "Give up," something within her whispers, "Hold on." You see, faith is not simply a religious word to her. It is a way of life. It's how she gets up in the morning when everything inside her says to stay in bed. It's how she smiles through tears, how she comforts others while silently battling her own storms. Her strength is not man-made. It is not taught in books or forged in classrooms. It is received in the quiet moments with God. On her knees in her car, by her bedside, where no one sees but heaven. When the job falls through, when the marriage hits hard times, when the children go astray, she does not crumble. She might bend, yes, but she does not break. Why? Because her trust is not in people, not in outcomes, not even in herself, but in the one who sees the end from the beginning. Her soul has learned to say, even if the healing doesn't come, even if the answer is delayed, even if the night seems endless, still she will believe, still she will pray, still she will praise. And her faith is not loud. It doesn't need a platform or applause. It shows up in quiet obedience, in daily surrender, in unseen battles. People may not always understand her, but they notice something different. They sense a peace that doesn't make sense, a calm that goes against the chaos, a strength that seems to defy the natural order of things. That's faith, that's power, that's the fire within her. She has walked through the valley of the shadow of death and came out with a testimony. She has known disappointment, but disappointment did not know the depth of her endurance. She has seen doors close, but she never stopped knocking on heaven's gate. And each time life tried to silence her with fear, she responded with faith. Because faith, for her, is not a feeling, it's a decision. A decision to believe when the bank account is empty. A decision to trust when the diagnosis is grim. A decision to keep walking when the path disappears beneath her feet. And she does it not because she is fearless, but because she knows who walks with her. She knows her steps are ordered. She knows her life has a purpose. She knows her prayers do not fall on deaf ears. So when you look at her and wonder how she keeps going, remember it is not by her strength that she stands. It is by grace. It is by faith. And it is that faith, quiet, steadfast, immovable, that makes her unbreakable. A strong woman who cannot be broken carries within her a stillness that the world cannot steal. Her peace is not circumstantial. It does not depend on how smoothly life flows or how perfectly everything falls into place. Her peace is deeper than that. It's anchored in something eternal. She has learned that chaos outside her cannot shake the calm that lives within her. not when her soul is rooted in truth. She's faced the storms. She's known the tremble of uncertainty, the roar of confusion, the weight of too many voices shouting at once. Life has thrown its worst at her: financial pressure, betrayal, heartbreak, illness, disappointment. But through it all, she never let the noise of the world drown out the still, small voice within her. And that voice reminds her time and time again, be still. Don't panic. God is in control. This woman doesn't need to shout her strength to the world. Her strength is evident in her quiet confidence. While others may be falling apart, she holds herself together. That doesn't mean she doesn't feel the pain. It doesn't mean she never cries. What it means is that even in her broken moments, she knows where her help comes from. She does not need to retaliate when attacked, does not need to prove herself when misunderstood. Her peace protects her from reacting to every provocation, from engaging every battle. She knows some fights are not worth the energy because not every voice deserves a response. She understands something powerful. Peace is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of God in the middle of it. She might be walking through fire, but there is no smoke on her. She may have tears in her eyes, but there is still praise on her lips. Others may ask her, how do you keep your composure? How do you stay calm when everything is falling apart? And she may smile gently, knowing they wouldn't understand, because the source of her calm isn't visible. It's spiritual. It's her deep assurance that even when she doesn't have the answers, she's being held by the one who does. Her peace is her power. It makes her unpredictable to the enemy. He can't shake her like he used to. The same storm that used to break her now builds her. The same pressure that once overwhelmed her now strengthens her, because she has learned that panic doesn't fix problems and fear doesn't bring solutions. Only peace, real peace, divine peace, can help her think clearly, move wisely, and lead gracefully. She has become the kind of woman others run to when the world feels like it's spinning out of control. Why? Because her presence is steady. Her words carry weight. Her silence speaks more than most people's shouting. When others come undone, she remains composed, not because life has been easy, but because she's learned the secret. Her peace doesn't come from the absence of problems, but from the presence of God's promises. She has traded anxiety for assurance. She has surrendered her need to control every outcome. She doesn't chase after what was lost or obsess over what might come. She lives in the moment, fully aware, fully present, and fully trusting. The peace within her is not something she found overnight. It was cultivated in countless moments of surrender, in the dark seasons, in the waiting rooms of life, in the prayers she prayed when no one was listening. And now, that peace is her armor. It shields her from impulsive decisions. It guards her heart from unnecessary battles. It gives her the clarity to move through life with grace, not haste. She's not in a rush to prove herself. She's not afraid of tomorrow. She's not shaken by today, because deep down she knows she's never been alone, and she never will be. A strong woman who cannot be broken knows how to stand alone. She is not afraid of solitude, nor does she fear the silence that comes when the crowd walks away. She has learned, through pain, through betrayal, through seasons of isolation, that standing alone is sometimes the only way to hear the truth clearly. She doesn't need a chorus of voices cheering her on to know her value. Her worth is not determined by who stays beside her or how many people approve of her. It comes from a place much deeper, much stronger, an identity rooted in truth, not trends. There are moments in life when the easiest path is to conform, to blend in, to compromise just to keep the peace or gain acceptance. But she refuses to lose herself in the noise of the crowd. She refuses to water down her convictions just to be liked. If the path to integrity means walking it alone, she walks it anyway, not with bitterness, not with arrogance, but with quiet resolve and unwavering dignity. Because she knows that truth is rarely popular, and standing for what is right often means standing alone. She has tasted the sting of rejection. She has felt the cold emptiness when those she loved turned their backs. She has sat in rooms where her voice was ignored, her presence overlooked, her values questioned. But through it all, she did not bow. She did not shrink. Instead, she rose. And every time she stood by herself, she discovered she was never truly alone. There was always a higher presence walking with her, strengthening her, guiding her, whispering, "You were not made to fit in. You were made to stand out." There's a unique kind of strength that grows in the absence of applause. When no one is watching, when no one is affirming her, that's when her character is revealed. That's when her courage is refined. The world may admire strength in numbers, but she has learned the unmatched power of being at peace with her own soul. She doesn't rely on others to define her direction. Her compass comes from within. It's not pride that fuels her independence. It's purpose. It's clarity. It's the understanding that some journeys are sacred and they must be walked without the crowd. She doesn't fear being misunderstood because her goal isn't to please. Her goal is to be faithful. She doesn't bend under pressure because she's not living for applause, but for impact. And if that means being the only one standing when others bow to convenience or compromise, so be it. She would rather walk in truth alone than sit in comfort surrounded by falsehood. Others may call her stubborn. Some may label her too strong, too opinionated, too different. But what they don't see is the discipline it takes to remain firm when everyone else wavers. They don't see the nights she cried because the silence felt unbearable. They don't see the strength it took to get back up when loneliness felt crushing. What they see is the finished product, a woman who radiates confidence and composure, but what they don't realize is that her strength was carved out in solitude. And now she has become someone others look to, not because she followed the crowd, but because she had the courage to break away from it. She has become a lighthouse in the storm, not moving, not swayed, not trying to fit in, but standing tall so others can find their way. Her life reminds others that it's okay to stand alone, that truth is still truth even if no one else stands for it, and that the narrow path is often the one that leads to the greatest purpose. Her solitude has not made her bitter, it has made her bold. She does not beg to be understood, nor does she plead for attention. She knows whose she is, and why she was created. And because of that, no amount of rejection can break her, no crowd can pressure her, no loneliness can shake her. She stands, and when she does, the earth takes notice. A strong woman who cannot be broken is defined not just by the battles she wins, but by the love she refuses to stop giving. Her compassion is not a weakness. It is her greatest weapon. In a world that can be harsh, cynical, and self-centered, she chooses to care, to forgive, and to extend grace even when it isn't returned. She does not allow pain to close her heart. She does not let disappointment turn her bitter. She continues to feel deeply, to love fiercely, and to serve willingly, even when others do not appreciate the depth of her sacrifice. Her compassion is not performative. It is not something she turns on for attention or recognition. It flows naturally from who she is. She sees pain where others turn a blind eye. She notices the lonely, the broken, the weary, and she does something about it, not because it's her duty, but because it's in her nature. She is the kind of woman who will stop what she's doing to listen to someone who needs to talk. She will offer her last bit of strength to lift someone else who is falling. And though she's often carrying burdens of her own, she chooses to ease the burdens of others. She has been hurt before, deeply. She has trusted people who betrayed her, helped those who turned their backs, loved those who didn't know how to love her in return. But even with those scars, she has not allowed her heart to harden. She has learned that real strength is not found in building walls. It's found in opening the door again, knowing the risk, but choosing love anyway. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. She understands something that many overlook. Compassion doesn't make you weak. It makes you powerful, because anyone can fight back. Anyone can retaliate. But it takes incredible strength to show kindness in the face of cruelty, to bless those who curse you, to forgive when you have every right to hold a grudge. And she does it not to be walked over, but to walk in freedom. She knows that unforgiveness is a prison and bitterness is a weight. So she lets go, not because they deserve it, but because she refuses to let hate lie rent free in her heart. Her compassion does not mean she has no boundaries. She knows how to say no. She knows how to protect her peace. But within those boundaries, her love is generous and healing. People feel safe around her because they know she genuinely cares. She doesn't love to impress. She loves to heal. She doesn't give to be praised. She gives because that's who she is. And her compassion extends beyond her circle. She cares for the hurting even if she doesn't know their names. She fights for justice even if she has nothing to gain. Her heart beats not only for herself, but for the world around her. And this makes her unstoppable because while others may grow cold, she stays warm. While others become jaded, she remains tender. While others close off, she stays open. That kind of heart is rare. That kind of love is powerful. And that kind of woman, she cannot be broken. Not because she's never been wounded, but because every wound has taught her how to love deeper, wiser, and with even more purpose. A strong woman who cannot be broken is not a stranger to rejection. She has felt the sting of being overlooked, misunderstood, and cast aside. She knows what it's like to pour her heart into people who walk away, to give her best, and be told it's not enough, to stand with others in their darkest hour, only to find herself standing alone when her own storms roll in. But here is what makes her different. She does not allow rejection to define her. She does not let it steal her voice or crush her spirit. Instead, she lets it refine her. Rejection for her is no longer a stop sign. It's a redirection. Every time someone told her she wasn't good enough, every time a door slammed in her face, every time love was withheld or trust was broken, she learned something about herself. She learned how to rise. She learned how to stand back up, not bitter, but better. Rejection taught her resilience. It taught her that not every no is a loss. Sometimes it's protection. Sometimes it's preparation. Sometimes it's positioning her for something greater. She does not chase after those who leave her. She does not beg for validation or approval. She has learned that when someone walks away, they're simply making room for something or someone more aligned with her purpose. She no longer ties her identity to how others see her. Her value doesn't decrease because someone failed to recognize it. She knows who she is, and no rejection can take that away. There was a time when rejection broke her, when it caused her to question everything about herself. But now, after walking through the fire and surviving, she sees rejection as part of the process. Every disappointment added a layer to her strength. Every unanswered prayer taught her to wait with grace. Every abandonment taught her to cling more tightly to her inner worth and her higher calling. She realized that being chosen by people is fleeting, but being chosen by purpose is eternal. And because of this, she no longer fears rejection. She embraces it. She sees it for what it is, a tool, not a torment, a teacher, not a threat. It reveals who's really for her and who was simply passing through. It sharpens her vision and strengthens her resolve. The very thing that once made her question her place in this world now confirms it. Because if rejection couldn't stop her, nothing will. She doesn't just survive rejection, she rises from it. She builds from the rubble. She finds power in the places others thought she'd crumble. And the beauty of it all is that she doesn't grow cold in the process. She remains open. Open to love again. Open to dream again. Open to try again. Because she refuses to let rejection make her retreat. Instead, she lets it make her relentless. This kind of strength cannot be faked. It is earned in quiet nights when she had to encourage herself, in lonely seasons when she had to keep walking with no one beside her, in moments of deep disappointment when she chose to believe there was still a purpose for her pain. That is why she cannot be broken, because rejection, which was meant to defeat her, only developed her. And now, she is unstoppable, not because life has been kind to her, but because she learned how to be kind to herself, even when life wasn't. A strong woman who cannot be broken is not just led by her feelings, she is guided by wisdom. She has learned, often the hard way, that emotions can be powerful, but they can also be misleading. She has faced moments when her heart said one thing, but truth said another, when her fears screamed louder than her faith, and her doubts tried to drown out her discernment. But through each trial, she gained something deeper than experience. She gained wisdom, and it became her compass. She doesn't react out of impulse. She pauses, she reflects, she prays, she listens, not just to what is being said, but to what is not being said. She has developed the ability to discern between what is urgent and what is important, between what feels good and what is right, between what flatters and what is real. She's not impressed by shallow promises or loud voices. She listens for depth. She looks for consistency. She trusts patterns, not just words. Her wisdom has been forged in seasons of silence and pain. It came from trusting the wrong people, from making mistakes, from enduring setbacks. But she didn't let those moments defeat her. She studied them. She asked herself the hard questions. She took accountability, and with each lesson, her vision became sharper, her instincts more refined. Now she moves with intention. She speaks with clarity. And when she makes a decision, it comes from a place of truth, not pressure. She's not easily swayed by emotions because she understands they're temporary. They rise and fall like waves, but wisdom is the anchor that keeps her steady. She may feel anger, but she doesn't let it rule her. She may feel sorrow, but she doesn't let it steal her strength. She may feel fear, but she doesn't let it stop her progress, because she knows wisdom is not about denying feelings. It's about rising above them to make choices that lead to peace, not regret. Others may see her calm demeanor and mistake it for detachment, but it's not that she doesn't care. It's that she has learned to care wisely. She gives herself fully, but not foolishly. She helps, but she also has boundaries. She loves, but she doesn't lose herself in love. She forgives, but she doesn't forget the lessons. That balance comes from wisdom. And now, people come to her for counsel. They see in her a quiet strength, a dependable voice, a grounded perspective. She doesn't offer quick fixes or sugar-coated answers. She speaks the truth, even when it's hard to hear, because she knows wisdom isn't always comfortable. It's corrective. It's protective. It's what has kept her from repeating old cycles and walking into familiar traps dressed in new disguises. Her wisdom is not from books alone. It is lived, tested, proven. It has been carved out in prayer, in solitude, in countless moments where she chose principle over pressure, depth over drama, purpose over popularity. She doesn't chase every opportunity or follow every trend. She discerns. She waits. She acts only when her spirit confirms it's time. That's why she rarely regrets her choices, not because everything works out perfectly, but because she moves with wisdom, not just emotion. And in a world full of noise, speed, and confusion, this wisdom sets her apart. It shields her, it centers her, it elevates her. While others are driven by what they feel, she is led by what she knows to be true. That is why she cannot be broken, because even in chaos, she sees clearly. Even in pain, she walks with purpose. Even in uncertainty, she chooses wisely. And that kind of woman, she's not just strong, she's unstoppable. So when the world asks, what makes her so unshakable, the answer is not found in the absence of pain or the ease of her journey. It's found in the fire she walked through and the grace with which she emerged. It's in the battles that didn't break her, the rejections that refined her, the loneliness that built her, and the wisdom that guides her steps today. She is not defined by her wounds, but by the way she healed. Not known for how loud she shouted, but for how deeply she loved. She doesn't need to prove her strength. It's evident in her peace, her persistence, her presence. And though life has tried to silence her, bend her, and break her, she stands, not because she's never fallen, but because she always gets back up. This woman is a force not because she controls the storm, but because she remains steady within it. She walks with a quiet power that does not need attention, applause, or permission. And as she keeps rising, keep this truth close, she cannot be broken, because her strength comes from a place no fire can reach and no man can take away. And that is the kind of woman the world cannot ignore.